Hey everybody, my name's Kieran Taylor. I was with you for the panel discussion around AI, artificial intelligence, and automation. If you weren't here for that, I lead AI Ops, or artificial intelligence for IT operations solutions at Broadcom. Very lucky to be joined by Sam. Sam, introduce yourself.
Good morning, folks. Thanks so much for taking time in your schedule to join us. Sam Chandra, I'm part of the CA automation segment. And my focus is really on advisory and solution strategy as to how exactly do you leverage automation in every aspect of your technical ecosystem, many ways that the leaders just talked about this morning. Glad to be here.
So before the session, Sam, you and I were talking, and you said we're kind of like, I'm the brains, you're the brawn, so to speak, or at least our business units are. I mean,
Correct.
A little smaller than you, but what I mean by that is what my business unit is focused on is the analytics, kind of coming up with the answers, and then the atomic side or the automation side of our business is really the brawn that puts it to work.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea really becomes is as to how it is that we were talking about the sub-second digital answers that people need to start coming up with, and as to how enterprises in your individual departments need to react to it. The analytics, the way that it is that you can leverage the data and actually understand those things, then need to be followed through so that it actually is delivering the appropriate value that it is that you're seeking. And that's what the conversation is all about today.
Yeah. So to kick us off, we heard in the last session Dr. Tibbetts. Let's see if this works. There we go. We heard in the last session Dr. Tibbetts said you can't go more than a nanosecond without hearing the term AI, right? Artificial intelligence. And I was actually shopping for TV sets this past weekend with my daughter. We're at Best Buy, and we're looking at the TV sets, and my daughter, who's 14, says, "Dad, get the one that has AI in it." I'm like looking at her, I'm like, well, first off, I don't think a television actually has AI in it, but that's how pervasive the term is. And so you have to ask, is this just another fad? We've all been working with IT for years, and fads come and they go. So is this one of the fads that's going to be fading at some point? And I offer three data points that suggest perhaps not. The first is a survey that MIT Sloan ran with Fortune 1000 companies. And the respondents, some 93% of the respondents were CXOs. So these are senior leaders within these Fortune 500 companies. General Motors, Fidelity, a lot of brand names there. 97% of them are investing in some sort of AI initiative. And in fact, I mentioned this earlier, if you look at where AI could be leveraged across all departments and all industries, IT is the most obvious place for it to be applied. We've already got run books, we've got well-defined processes, we think about things in terms of ITIL, et cetera. So if you're thinking about automation and AI, natural place to start is with IT. In fact, Google has a project called Deep Learning, and if you're not familiar with it, you can Google it and learn more about it. But here we've got Ben Traynor, who's the VP of Engineering at Google, who led this Deep Learning initiative. They applied machine learning to some 2 years of data center operations data. And what they found was by observing what the ML taught them, the machine learning taught them, they were able to reduce costs, power and cooling mainly, by 40%, just by having kind of the ML learnings applied to how to run the data center more efficiently, how to operate cooling systems, power systems, et cetera. 40% for Google translates into tens of millions of dollars a year. So that's one of the reasons we think that AI and ML will in fact have some uptake and there will be some interest. And then the third reason, I don't know if you know, but the administration issued an executive order in February called the American AI Initiative. And I read some of it last night. Kind of went right to, is there any budget here? And there is no budget in the American AI Initiative. So, some people might smirk because it's a little bit of a paper tiger. But nonetheless, the Trump administration has said, hey, there's a directive for agencies to look at how they could leverage AI. Maybe the money will come later, we don't know. But as part of this executive order, they call out some agencies that are more ripe for automation and AI than others. Those being GPO, Government Printing Office, the SEC, Federal Election Commission, DOD, to name a few. They call them out specifically and saying, hey, you need to look at AI. So, Sam, can you talk to us a little bit
Yeah.
about how it's
Actually,
a
so-
strategic enabler?
Thanks, Kiran.
Yeah.
Right. So Kiran and I, sorry about the feedback. We talk about this around the globe all the time. But just a quick show of hand, just a reaction to it. Are you guys really embracing this concept of AI inside your ecosystem today? Just a quick show of hand. Yeah? Okay, that's really good. And this is really important because what it is that we are trying to talk about, and I'm so sorry about the echo. Oh,
You sound fine.
I hear it. Okay. I've been told that before. But yeah, what it is that we're talking about here really is this whole idea of machine learning and artificial intelligence combined with the aspect of actually automating and executing through on this thing is absolutely a strategic initiative. We heard leaders talk about it just a few minutes ago as to how it is important to take this data and translate it into some kind of action. This is what it is coming down to. And it is an imperative conversation at different levels in the ecosystem inside your organization. At the executive level, the same exact conversation is taking place, and where it is that's all about taking a competitive advantage, how to take advantage of the finite resources that you currently have. Dr. Tibbets talked about that a little bit, right? And this whole conversation is the same two sets of technology, and as to how they marry and how it gets carried out is translating into different value propositions at every different layer inside your ecosystem, all the way down to as to what's happening inside your data center with your data center engineers, right? We talked a little bit about, you heard Dr. Cooper talk about as to how it is so important to actually marry or make the experts sit down with the engineers, the AI experts, et cetera, so that they actually are transferring that knowledge through. The idea is not only just to go ahead and capture that that knowledge about the corporation, the entity, into artificial intelligence, but it's also about how do you free up your resources so that they can do more, right? How it is that you want to drive that thing out, and it's a really important thing. And that is actually how it is that these two things are actually starting to drive different types of value proposition at every level in your organization.
So why pursue AI and automation? Well, it should solve problems, right? I was just in the washroom putting my hands underneath the paper towel dispenser. It's supposed to automate the issue of these paper towels. Nothing came out. Well, there's a great example where automation didn't work, right? So what should it do? What it should do is drive down MTTR. So you might know this as mean time to resolve. Other folks are calling it MTTI, mean time to innocence. Hey, it's not my fault. It's not the network. It's not the servers. It was something else that was the source of the problem. But regardless, AI and automation should drive down that MTTR, and it should also drive up operational efficiency. It should make your data center run more efficiently. And ultimately, the outcome should be, as Dr. Tibbets said, you're improving some business service. It's got to start with a business service. Just because you've got server uptime, in the 4 nines, 3 nines, that's not what the name of the game is. It's how do you improve the actual service quality. So this slide basically just says, hey, it's a journey. You need to start with having a good, solid footing in how you acquire the data. How do you get all of it into one place? Once you've aggregated it, what are the technologies you use to analyze it? And we'll talk about that in a second. And so that's kind of the brains part of it, right? The analytics, but then automate. And Sam will talk about how we can automate our common tasks and even some more sophisticated tasks like predictive insights. So this diagram is a lot to look at, I know, but it's actually pretty simple. This is a summary of our architecture at Broadcom for AI and automation. If we start at the bottom of the diagram, we believe that it's really important that we support both on-prem and cloud-based deployment. So our solutions can be purchased in a traditional on-prem type model where you're running the software within your own data center. But because it's Kubernetes-based, if you want to run it in the cloud, easy to do that as well. That's kind of a foundational principle. The next layer up, I don't know how many have dealt with CA technologies historically. Show of hands if anybody's run CA software. Okay, a few. We've been in the monitoring business for decades. If you look across our solutions in the area of network, infrastructure and application. Some of the companies we acquired in these areas you might know as Wiley Technologies, Nimsoft, et cetera. Lots and lots of expertise there. I'm mentioning it because it's important that you have that domain expertise in order to solve problems. Math is math. Everybody's going to have, the same math at the end of the day, but do you know how to recognize common problems and apply the right math? That's, largely the bottom half of this picture is how do we acquire the data? How do we put it into a data lake? We use Elasticsearch, Kibana, a lot of common off-the-shelf technologies, open source technologies, I should say. And then how do we feed that up into an analytics layer so that we can then hand it to Atomic or have automation performed on it? And that's really what this diagram represents, the two sides of the coin. So my business unit's on the left side. We're really about how we can acquire all that data. I sometimes refer to this problem as the 3 V's. The 3 V's being the volume, the variety, and the velocity of data. The volume of data, you can just imagine. There's a few icons there, but start to think about IoT. Think about all the phones that you have to support, so on and so forth. All of that increases the volume of data. The variety, those are all different data types. So APM, Application Performance Management, they think about everything in a world of topology. Network monitoring, hey, it's all about packets. It's time series data. It's a totally different data structure. If you're doing log analysis, yet another data type. So there's a variety of data that we have to support. And then the velocity is just, hey, it's a software-defined world, whether it's SDN for networks or software-defined data centers. I mentioned Kubernetes. It's an extremely volatile, ephemeral, changing environment. And so those 3 V's that I just described are really part of how we aggregate and analyze the data. Then we hand the answers over to Sam's team from an automation standpoint.
Well, to think really of this thing as your left and right-hand sides of the same body, right? So it's connected by the same brain. And what it is that we really are talking about is once it is that you have gleaned in, you have translated your information and data segments and data points that you have across your ecosystem, once it is that you have gleaned some kind of knowledge, actually, I'll go as far as to say, once it is that you've gleaned some wisdom out of it, it's time to take action out of it, right? And that action needs to translate into value proposition. Again, I keep hitting that point of value to you because it has to do something that is going to actually translate and move the ball forward. How exactly do you do this? Because again, the whole idea is to mission to modernize, is that how do you do this thing? And the option that you have is to leverage some kind of what I would call your digital workforce to actually make that thing happen. And that's what it is, and that's how exactly a product such as Atomic comes into play. That can help you. Now, Atomic is very interesting in this particular case that it does not actually leverage just what it is that you have with your own, you don't have to rip and replace, but this thing actually allows you the ability to connect with a lot of different technologies that can do it not only inside your data center, but now what it is that we find is that the data center is existing and it actually is translating into actions all the way down to your individual devices that you have sitting in your pocket, right? How do I take it to that and actually manage it, right? In a few minutes, we will talk a little bit about that, which is that the idea and the concepts which used to be very much behind the glass doors or whatever it is that we have of our data centers in the years past now really extends all the way out to individual pockets, because that's where the Internet of Things has really taken things. That's where the manifestation of data into activity takes place, right? So that exact activity, we are now responsible for it. I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to tell you a true story. It's a kind of funny story, but you just talked about MTTI,
yeah.
And you said mean time to innocence, right? That actually used to be the attitude. Last year, I actually had a chance to go to China. I was talking to this particular gentleman. He and I have known each other for a very long time. Actually, we went to high school together. We went to high school in New York. And what's really funny is that now he's the leader of this innovation team. And I don't know if he's been inspired by, watching too much Wolf of Wall Street, but he put a bell on his open floor where it is that they do this. And he does have something called time to innovate. He does have that metric. And everybody goes and rings it every time they innovate something. And that is just to get you go ahead and keep championing, and something or the other is always happening. A lot of this thing that is happening, this innovation that is taking place is not like, oh, they have gone ahead and solved world peace. These are these minuscule advances that are taking place. And the idea is, how do I advance in one particular place so that I can take advantage of what my brother is doing in another place, and the third place, and the fourth place? And as they bring it together, the idea is, how exactly do I translate that into savings? How do I translate that into more revenue? Because they're in the private sector, there's more about how do I translate it into revenue. But it's from a service. You know what it translated into? It translated into them developing this particular concept that they are right now marketing, and they're trying to test it out in China, and they'll take it out. They're trying to figure it out. How do I take environment variables and sense that through various different IoT devices and translate that into greater performance of the battery that they already have inside the car? Right? It senses as to what the temperature is, it senses what the humidity is, it senses as to how it is that you're leveraging the environment control factors inside your car, blah, 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 et cetera, and they make that happen. Take that back as to what's happening inside your, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Take that back as to what exactly is that happening inside your own data centers, right? It's all about, how do I go ahead and take this hybrid ecosystem that I have and translate that into some kind of way of executing that is going to be of value to the larger people, that is not just inside your data center, right? Again, your data center now is extending all the way down to your individual devices over here. If that is the case, the idea of operations is the first thing that we're thinking of actually going ahead and starting to modernize. If you think about it, this is an area that is ripe, absolutely ripe for automation. Karen, at the onset of this conversation, talked about we have ITIL and all these different things. Yeah, these are our management processes and et cetera that we have. They're all the way on the right side of the screen. But this is where the management and basically incident management and all these different things will take place. If you're doing continuous delivery, if you're doing DevOps, if you're doing any of these things, this is where it is translating into the CI/CD type of automation, et cetera. You have a role in there inside your data centers, right? Take that a little bit further. That's not where the conversation is going to stop. In fact, that is where the conversation is going to start, right? This is where you will start to have a role and that you will start to play in every single thing, such as security. We talked so much about it already today, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is where all that stuff is going to come together. And as this thing that starts to come together, it's going to start translating into you doing better digital threat management, right? It is going to translate into, hey, guess what? Let me look a name. Anupama, I'm sorry, I'm picking on you. She was in Department X today, but she's moving to Department Y tomorrow. As that happens, do you really have to worry about as to what kind of access should you have? What kind of data should she be privy to? That kind of stuff should be automated. It should be controlled, not somebody actually having to go, okay, let me map this, let me map that. Nope, they made a decision. We in the data center, we through automation should be carrying that knowledge, that exercise through, right? Make this a split-second exercise versus a multi-day exercise. These are things that should take forward, right? Now, this sounds kind of weird to be talking about this in 2019, but it actually is what is true today, and that's okay, right? And I think it is really, really, really important that we take a step back, look at as to what needs to be done, and think about how do I actually make a concerted effort to actually advance this conversation. It's not time to replace what it is that you have. It is time to evolve what it is that you already have. And this conversation is supposed to help translate that into different types of discussions that you may have. I saw a couple of hands go up when it is that we talked about CA just a few minutes ago. If you have a chance later today, go to have a look. There are tools such as what we call an automation matrix that is currently available on CA's websites, things like that. It can help you actually map out where it is that you are in your journey. And then more importantly, let's start a holistic conversation as to how it is that you need to evolve, how it is that you take advantage of this thing called AI, right? And how it is that these left and right hands of your body come together to drive that conversation inside your company, inside your department forward, right? That's what it comes down to. Now, this thing is all about, like I said, it's not about just about executing, right? AI, if I think about it for a little bit, right, Kiran, I don't know if you would agree with me on this, but it literally, I don't know, man. If 3 years ago, 4 years ago, were we really saying AI? No, every time we said AI, we were thinking about the Terminator movies, right? Or something like that, right?
Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet. Now, it's funny, my Samsung refrigerator will tell me when my milk is about to expire. What? I mean, this is a little bit too much. But guess what? That translates into, while that might be it may feel like an invasion in the personal space, it is a value proposition in your data center, right? Think about, how do I take my maintenance dollars further, right? What is it that you do maintenance on today? You probably do it on a schedule. You do it based on when it is that a major incident occurs or a change has to occur and all that kind of stuff. That's when it is that you're doing maintenance. What happens if you actually have devices, sensors that are in your ecosystem inside your data center that senses when a particular device is ripe for maintenance? Not when it is that you think it should be done, which is the historical way, right? Your calendar, but when it must be done. And when it is that you have to do that, what it is that you have just done is that you have probably taken this opportunity, this finite set of dollars that you had, and stretched it out. That's my way of saying, when I explained this by the way, to my mom and dad, we were taking a road trip from New York to Chicago, long trip. But when I explained this conversation to my dad, so my mom chimes up from the background and goes, you know what, you really are talking about couponing. Absolutely, Mom, that's buy one, get one free right there, right? This is the idea. And this is the idea that has to translate onto not only your operational aspects, it has to translate into financial management, because that's where it's all about the green, right? That's all the way on the left-hand side of the screen. And the idea is automate it, but marry it with intelligence, so it's autonomous intelligence, and autonomous automation. That's what it is that you're trying to do. Now, like I said, this is a journey that is just starting for a lot of us, right? This is a journey that we're just starting to scratch the surface on. Here's a company that is actually doing it today. Let's
hear from our friends at KPN. If you're not familiar with KPN, they're the leading telecommunications provider in the Netherlands. And this is our
We're moving into the era of DevOps,
Arnold.
where Dev means fail fast and Ops means fail never. So for never to fail, you need a lot of data. So we are searching for a lot of data to make our operations very stable, right? And in fact, so much data that we humans cannot actually process it anymore or analyze it. So we desperately need technology to help us out. But AI is definitely very important to us because it's the future for us, right? CA has a very unique position, and not unique that other companies don't do it, but you have a combined technology stack in your portfolio, right? You do automation, you do monitoring and analytics, and if you talk about operations intelligence, that's the two things you want to combine.
Indeed. So if you're thinking about this, you may remember this layout, this slide from a couple of slides ago. This thing, like I said to you, is translating into actual value for individual organizations already, using technology that a couple of our executives and leaders just a few minutes said, it's very much in its infancy stage. If it is translating into 40% reduced in frequency in what it is translating into, think about what it can do for you, right? Now, if it is that you're thinking about that, it's like I have a used car to sell you. No, the idea here is that just imagine, because this is the value proposition that your leaders are actually focusing on. And it is translating into real actual values, not only in the frequency that it's taking, but the amount of effort it is taking place. And more importantly, who is doing it? Is it a human workforce that is involved in there, or is the restoration, is the removal, is the advancement that is taking place being done by your digital workforce? These conversations are fantastic. We'd love to engage with you on that. Back to you, Kiran.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons we played the KPN video is they're one of CA Technologies' first customers to use the combination of our monitoring technologies and our Atomic platform. So if you actually look at what Arnold is doing at KPN, he owns all of our monitoring, network, infrastructure, application, and then on top of that, an offering we call operational intelligence. And Vicki, if you raise your hand, Vicki's in the back of the room. She's able to demo operational intelligence here at our table and show you just exactly how it does what Arnold described. He's got too much data, more than a human can process, and that's what operational intelligence is designed to do, is to improve that signal-to-noise ratio so that when we connect to Atomic, we're giving them the right answer. So it's not garbage in, garbage out, but the right answer is coming out.
Garbage in, garbage out, and garbage performed. No, we want to do the right thing, right?
Right.
Value performed, value realized, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So that is what we wanted to share with you today. In conclusion, there's kind of three key areas that Sam and I think about. The first is really, when I talked about the 3 V's, the volume, the variety, the velocity of data that's coming at you, you really need technologies that help you ingest all those different data sets and then correlate them. And that's the only way you actually get insight. Otherwise, you're operating in a silo. Just because you know what the network's doing doesn't mean that you know how it's impacting a business service. Secondly, I mentioned some of the ingredients that are in our platform. We use Elasticsearch, we use Kafka as a high-speed bus, we have Kibana for our UI. You might know some of these names from the open source community. Could you roll this together yourself? Yeah, you could roll your own, but we would submit that we've already done the work. This is out of box, it's already integrated, we've connected with Atomic. What's that mean for you? It's a faster time to value. You're able to stand this up and, like KPN, get some of the results that Sam described more quickly. And then the last point here, we don't want to be a proprietary system. I mean, I'll say this, and this might be heresy, but when you look at monitoring, it's going to be commoditized. We recognize that there are open source solutions for monitoring, right? So those things are going to become dumb collectors, so to speak. We're going to operate in a world where we ingest CA data, Dynatrace, AppDynamics, you name the vendor, we're going to be open about it. And so the platform has open APIs, RESTful APIs that enable us to ingest data from any source, apply our machine learning and AI, and then integrate with Atomic for that point.
Absolutely.
Anything to add, Sam?
No, and I think if you actually marry it back to what it is that you heard Broadcom leaders talk about a little bit ago, the dollars that are going into R&D, that's going to translate into value for you because it's not only open, but we are innovating faster than we actually have done so before. We're talking to you more. We're more focused on you, and as such, we're translating into value for you faster. So we are strategically aligned to value and realization of that for you, right? And again, heresy is or not, but that is the reality of the matter. We are open. We want to translate into whatever it is that you're leveraging. Let's pause. How about questions? Any comments? This was not went to where it is that you guys were. What is it that you guys are thinking? Is this of value to you guys? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Sorry, Jack, can you just define value? Because I'm listening to this and I'm hearing, they improve the operational capacity of the center, due to the utilities being used. And then I was looking at some of your graphics and stuff. And why I'm asking you to define value is because some of the AI I find is disconnected to what we wanted to use it for. And in my example to you is like a phone tree. When I call into a customer service, the value is that you want your customers, you want to keep them. But if you get an automated answering machine or tree that you come in there, if you want to talk to this person, press 1 or kind of thing. Follow me?
Absolutely.
So where's the crossover between, the different types of value and where AI comes in?
I think that's a, oh, so sorry.
No, please, Sam.
I think that's a fantastic question, right? Because I think that what you ended that question with is as to how it is that we have experienced automation, or what I would call generation 1 of automation, is as to how it manifested itself into how we all experienced it, right? We called Comcast and you went through 18 different, like press 1 for this, press 2 for that, right? Okay, by the time you get to a human, you have already hit 0 like 15 times, right? You just want to talk to that. That has to go away, right? Now, the interesting thing, right, remember I was talking about what it is that we experience in China and things like that? Think about as to what that may translate into. You pick up the phone and you're actually having a conversation with, I saw HP over here just a little bit ago, right? What happens if it is that you're talking to a hardware like provider that you are having a conversation with? Do you want your technology to have already put together and assembled this package of information and automatically delivered it to your vendor? If it is that you have an NDA, et cetera, whatever the control things is, so that you're not sitting there and describing to them what the problem is. By the time you get them on the phone, which is not 15 zeros later, but it is, hey, Bob, thanks for the call. Let's get together. Let's start fixing this now. Because for you, you're not calling them for an informational, hey, let's get together for a golf conversation. You're calling them because your house is on fire, right? Not literally, but you get the idea, right? There's something that is down. You want to take that too. That's one type of value, right? There's a different type of value. That value is financial, the economic part of it as well, right? Some of the slides that you talked about is that is what it is that we're trying to really draw your attention and corral you to, is that, look, Kiran was right. If it is that you have commoditized monitoring, then what? The value really comes into, if I've commoditized transportation, then all it is that I need to do is it's a race to the bottom, right? In how much cheaper it is that I can make it. That action, that is also it. And it's not as to how much cheaper I can make it, but how much of that dollar that I can translate into research and development of a new value proposition for me, right? This is something that I expect. When I go flip the switch inside my room, the light comes on. I need to have that with the way that I monitor and how it is that I resolve the fundamentals of things that are taking place over there. If it is that you have runbooks as what, and it's not if, this is actually happening. It's happening for the last couple of years in a couple of large corporations. If I have runbooks already there, and as it was talked about a little bit ago, you have your data then, the runbooks is data, and you have meta-tagged it properly. Should the machine know that you need to execute this type of resolution thing based on the event that is occurring? It should. And what happens if you don't have that runbook defined? If you have it defined it better, right? Think about it almost runbooks as microservices, then it should be able to self-assemble the right resolution script and execute on it. Mm-hmm. Right? These are things that are actually not, oh, it will happen in 2021. This actually happened in 2015, 2016. It's already happening. Let's think about how it is that I actually bring that thing into the government ecosystem, right? So that's the second type of value. Mm. And the last one is obviously it's all about innovation, right? Think how far, AI has come in the last couple of years. Think how far it will be in the next couple of years. And it will happen just like that. So that's all about innovation, which is going to happen inside your own ecosystem.
I think we're at time.
Yep, yeah. Sorry.
So thank you very much, Sam.
Absolutely.
That's excellent. And thank you all for your attention. Really appreciate you staying. And the conversation continues, so please find myself and Sam during the breaks. We're also at the table to demo the solutions as well. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.